Good evening. Welcome to ExPat InSights. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Here at ExPat InSights, we take external views of internal successes by foreigners, immigrants, and expats who have made Philippines their homes. Many a times, we break that rule and invite Filipinos who break the rules of the play and Filipinos who do things creatively and differently. Today, I am extremely proud to have two ladies, two Filipinas who have broken the pattern and changed things a lot. And the theme tonight is Power Filipinas. One lady, my first guest, Ms.Bongato from the private sector, and another one, Judge Singh from the public sector. So welcome to ExPat InSights.
It's our pleasure to be here. Thank you, Raju.
Good morning, and thank you for inviting us.
It is good evening. This show is aired tomorrow night. So Sunday night, in fact, July 12th tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's good evening. It's
Good
not good
evening.
morning. So tell us a bit about yourself, a little background about what makes you who you are as a person today, Ms.Bongato.
That's very interesting. I've done a lot of things in my life, and somewhere along the way, I think you heard me did my first icebreaker speech. Somewhere along the way, I realized there must be other things that I'd like to do in life and really follow my passion. I'm an engineer by education, moved to a lot of different parts of the corporate until I moved to this industry, the outsourcing and offshoring industry. I joined call centers. I was working for several hours a day. And I saw that there's something that we as Filipinos can offer, where we're good at. And that's where I followed the passion.
Let me add this for the audience now. Ms.Bongato is the Executive Director of the Business Process Outsourcing Association of the Philippines.
That's right.
She's the Executive Director, and she's also a professor at Benil. And Judge Singh is the judge at the Regional Trial Court of Quezon City. She's also Professor of Law at Ateneo. So that's where your background is. Engineering, you said?
Engineering by education, finished 2 engineering courses. I was a nerd. I was always in the library until I decided to move elsewhere to human resources, until I ended up here at the Business Processing Association of the Philippines, where my responsibility is to be able to grow this industry because we see a lot of potential.
The BPO industry.
The IT BPO industry.
It has so many names. It's the O&O industry, the IT BPO industry. Which is the current one?
It's IT BPO.
IT BPO is the right word?
And it comprises of quite a number of different kinds of work, from software development to call centers to voice contact centers to non-voice. It also includes animation, the 2Ds and the 3Ds. And one of the fastest growing sector also now is game development. The games that you play with your iPads and iPods and your...
Mario.
Yes.
Angry Birds.
Angry Birds, yes, that's right.
I've not seen that one.
Oh.
You should play that. It's not easy, right? So that's really growing.
We'll go into depth about the industry that you represent. No? Judge Singh, what makes you who you are today? What brought you to the status in life that you are today?
Well, I come from a very tight-knit family. We're natives of Marikina. We grew up in a small town where people knew each other. We're mostly related to each other, and a very devout Catholic family, especially my mother. My mother's also a lawyer, and maybe that's what pushed me into going to law school. But practicing law for 10 years, I felt like there was something really wrong with the system. And at some point, I was ready to give up and say, I don't want to do this anymore. This system is not going to change. But I challenged myself asking, you're ready to give up on something you've put so much of your life into already without even trying to change what's wrong with it. All you've done is complain so far. So why not try to do something about it? And by that time, I already had children. And I was thinking of my children, actually, who may want to be lawyers like me, like I wanted to be a lawyer like my mother. So if I'm going to leave the system and throw up my hands and say, I surrender, nothing's going to change, what about my children if they want to join the same profession one day? So I thought I should try and do something first. So I went to the other side, formerly a member of the bar, still a member of the bar, but I decided to join the bench, the judiciary. That's when I applied.
Let's talk a little bit about being the female of the species in the Philippines. No? Philippines is known to be a matriarchal society, and Filipino women lead. Why is that so, and how true is it today in the 21st century? You are, of course, change creators, both of you. You are from the private industry, you from the public sector. But how true does this statement hold, that Filipinas lead? In fact, they are the power behind the Filipino men.
Well, I can say that it's true in every family, from the biggest to the smallest ones. The mother is always at the center. The mother, to me, as far as I'm concerned, and as what I see, is the one that child goes to for everything. I mean, advice, guidance, everything, consolation. When you need to be comforted, it's the mother. And that's how the Filipino family has always been. And in the modern times, that should be taken as an advantage by the women of our country. You already have that advantage over the men. Yes, yeah. the sense of trust that that is somehow inherent in the fact that you're female. And let me tell you, specifically for the judiciary, the trend has been to appoint more women judges than male judges.
Wow.
Yes, and this is from the the appointing authorities. They say that women judges are expected to be more diligent, more responsible.
Expected,
yes.
Or they truly are?
They truly are, of course, but when you're appointing, you still don't know how they'll perform once appointed. So the expectation is they'll perform more diligently, more responsibly, and they'll be less prone to corruption because they don't do or indulge in the social activities that men usually indulge in. And so that is the expectation, and those expectations are largely realized in women judges.
I don't want to shift this conversation into he said and she said. But how true is this in the private sector? If it works in the judiciary, how true is it in the private sector?
We see that happening also in the private sector, from the executives even down to the rank and file, because we see that women are more diligent, they go to work more on time, they are more dedicated, like dedicated to the family, dedicated to work. We see a lot of, even OFWs, a lot of OFWs Filipinas.
Was this always true for the Philippines like 500, 600 years ago? Or has this happened since Philippines turned Christian? Because way before the Spaniards, Philippines was not Christian. So you think this is an effect of the Filipino country becoming a Christian country? Or did this exist way before that? And we can close with that question, we'll take a break. But Penny, what do you think?
I think it has evolved over the years. I don't think we were like that ever since. I remember that at a certain point, it's really Filipina women home. You just stay home. But over the years, when the economy has changed, when you have to have two people working, mother and father, then we see the Filipinas really start to shine, really being there, being able to reach out and do a lot more different things.
Matt?
I think the advent of Christianity in the country did a lot for emphasizing or highlighting the role of the woman as the center in the family. But even before then, men are the ones who traditionally go out and look for food or hunt for food.
That was
during
globally.
That was yes, exactly. And so I don't think that the Philippines was much different. So the woman is left at home to tend for the children, and that is the other thing, Raju, that I think makes women better managers. It's because we treat the workplace not like a workplace. We treat it like our own home. So there's an extra special care for it, and respect and consideration for the members of the workforce that we give traditionally to members of our family.
Oh, rather than a playing field, you make it a home.
Yes.
Okay, on that note, we'll take a break and we'll come back and ask you more about what you're doing at the court of Regional Trial Court in Quezon City, and you what you're doing with the IT-BPO Association. Let's take the break and come back here. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Please stay with us. Welcome back to ExPat InSights. We are still with the two power Filipinas as my guests. And we are now going to talk about the outsourcing industry, which is known as the IT-BPO. and we talk about what Judge Singh has done at the Quezon City Regional Trial Court. Let's start with the BPO industry. Penny, give us a big picture of the BPO industry. Where does it stand? Where's it going?
The IT BPO,
the IT BPO, I stand
industry.
corrected, yeah.
Okay. It started a long time ago. In fact, the first one is really software development. It's been here for decades. However, the big portion of the IT BPO industry really started about 10 years ago. And in 2006, we were about $3.2 billion in revenue with about 240,000 employees. In 2010, just finished calculating all the statistics, we now are at an $8.9 billion revenue with 525,000 employees.
Double.
Yes,
How many?
more than double.
520,000.
500,000.
Yes, and for every job in the BPO, there are about 2 or 3 related jobs, like your 24/7 convenience stores, your 24/7 coffee shops and fast food chains, bars serving 24/7
real
happy hours,
estate,
yeah, real estate, and it's really grown, and we are projecting this to even grow further. The market has grown significantly because of the downturn in the Western world. Everything is they're trying to cut costs and increase quality as well. So we project our baseline figures for 2016 for the IT BPO industry is really about 900,000 employees, but we're targeting 1.3 million employees at $25 billion revenue.
By 2016.
By 2016.
This morning it said 2020, $55 billion. I think it was Tina Dumlao in the Inquirer. She said $55 billion. In fact, a couple of statements there. Now, when you say IT BPO, I know there is inbound, outbound, voice, non-voice. What else is covered in business process outsourcing, and what else can be included over time?
Over time, we started with software,
Phone calls, yeah.
then voice,
Yeah.
then non-voice. Your analytics is coming here. Analytics, like even in legal transcription and contract reviews. So we do have lawyers in some of our BPOs. They would study contracts because what's happening is there's so much demand for faster turnaround time. So there is what we call follow the sun. When the U.S. sleeps, we're awake. So we do the work, then we pass it on to them. And that's the same thing for other countries. So we now have a growing non-voice industry, from very basic data entry through your
The medical transcriptions, they're still existent, or they are a dying section of the industry?
No, in fact, not medical transcription, healthcare is growing. It's one of the segments or sectors that's growing. Because right now, it's not just medical transcription or medical coding, medical billing. You have patient management. Let's say you have a patient somewhere and they need to be reminded of doctor's appointments, have you taken your medicines? Those calls are being done here. Data review, utilization, actually everything that could be outsourced.
So what, from your perspective, what aspect of life and work, what frontier has not been exploited or at least tapped by or outsourced? What can happen that might be the most creative outsourcing done in the future, from where you sit, from where you are?
We were just talking about decision making.
Or acting, movie acting.
Movie acting.
But beyond that,
I would think that anything that could be non-decision making or very, not entry level, but more higher level than that. But decision making always has to be at the country of origin. But anything now can be part of
So
this.
Judge Monet Singh's job is never at stake.
No.
At least not in the near, not in this century.
Not the decision making, the review of your documents and the putting together the documents. Yes, we can do that.
Bane or boon from the social side is the growth of the IT BPO industry. How is it affecting society? How is it changing the generations to come? What are the effects? Are they good? Are they bad?
I personally feel that it's good. One, you don't have to go overseas to find a job.
That's the whole country as a community.
There are jobs here. I was in the embassy yesterday.
Which embassy was this?
Dutch embassy,
okay.
because there is a business forum that I will be attending representing the Philippines. The embassy has put together a forum. I was talking to someone there, and I was asking her, why are you going abroad? She said, I come from Surigao, there's no jobs there. I said, but you know, there are jobs in Davao, and that's 6 hours away. Yeah, but that's so far away, 6 hours away. You'd rather go
Thousands of miles away.
of miles away than go 6 hours away. So the thinking is, there's no jobs here. There are jobs here. There are plenty of jobs here.
So it's the creation and the direction of the job.
Yes, and awareness that there are jobs here. We've always said that OFWs are our unsung heroes. Instead of bringing out the talents overseas, what we call brain drain, we want to bring them back. There's brain gain. So there are jobs here. And families will be more intact. That's the most important thing.
Even though people have to work at night.
There are day jobs too.
There are now day jobs.
There's a lot of day jobs now. And there are, of course, there are rumors about this, the health risks. It's really your personal self doing it. If you know how to sleep in the morning, if you know how to take care of yourself, you take vitamins, like any other jobs. Hotels are 24/7, hospitals are 24/7. So that's the same thing as ITBPO.
Good, good. Just saying, now tell us about what you did at the Regional Trial Court in Quezon City, because you achieved something wonderful. So can you explain, when you moved from private sector to the public sector, what happened?
Okay, well, first I was shocked all the way down to the tips of my hair, because I'm coming from private practice and I'm so used to everything running, you know, smoothly like clockwork, and then you go to the government and nothing's running at all. So it was a big shift for me, and my appointment was not received very well by the court staff, because here comes this new person who's actually younger and who's female.
Yeah.
And now she's going to change all the things that we're so used to.
She doesn't have the belief system that they have.
Exactly. So, but the only way that I could show them that my way is the right way is to do it myself. And so that's what I embarked on doing. I had to convince them by showing them that the way that I do things is the only way that will work.
What was the working system, the procedure, and the culture in the court? In the court that you are now heading, and was that the culture of courts across the country? Can you describe what it was?
All right.
How terrible was the monster?
Okay, in general, when you speak about the courts, everybody has this idea that courts are like turtles, you know, the slowest, no? And then they have this shell, this hard shell, that they're immune to criticism. No matter how bad you criticize them in the media, they don't care. They just keep on doing what they're doing or not doing what they're supposed to be doing. That was generally what my court was, but actually it was worse, no? When I first reported for work, well, we call him the executive judge. My executive judge told me, oh, that's too bad, you got that court, because that's the problem court. He told me this was...
What do you mean executive judge?
The executive judge is like the chief judge of the station. He's like the supervisor of all the judges in that station. So you report to him on the first day, and then I tell him I got this court. And this was back when I was in the first level court, in the Metropolitan Trial Court. And then he tells me, that's too bad, because that's the worst court here. That's a problem court. And I said, oh, really? I didn't know that. And so we went there, and he was not exaggerating, because the court was riddled by corruption. The branch clerk of court, who's the administrative head, the alter ego of the judge in every court, had done many things against the law in terms of corruption. And in fact, that by the time I arrived there, he was already on a wall. He was absent without leave, because he was running away from all the cases filed against him by the litigants. So he had done all these things over a long period of time. There was absolutely no system in the court, and there were 4,500 cases. And on top of that, every month I'd get 175 new cases. So I was thinking, how will I get rid and dispose of all these cases, considering that every month there are 200 new cases coming in? And it's not a wonder anymore that people are complaining.
Just saying, may I just come in there? Number one, the question that's on my mind is that if that was the status of the Quezon City Regional Trial Court, is this true of many courts in the country? That's the question on my mind.
Yes.
But before you give me an answer to that, what is the judicial system set up? How are the courts structured?
Okay.
What's the biggest court, and where do you stand, and how does, I don't want to use the word corruption, I mean, where does this monster exist, and how, if you've tackled it in your corner, how can it be tackled all the way through?
All right. The highest court is the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And then below the Supreme Court, we have what we call the appellate courts. That's the Court of Appeals, and then we have the Court of Tax Appeals. Yeah. We also have the anti-graft court. That's the Sandigan Bayan. And then below them...
the Sandigan Bayan takes care only of...
graft cases.
In the administration.
Yes, government. But they even private individuals can be sued under those laws if they do it in conspiracy with public officers. Okay. And then below them are the regional trial courts. That's
under
my
the
level.
Appellate courts or regional trial.
Yes, that's my level. And then below us are the metropolitan trial courts. Those are the first level trial courts. So if a case starts with the first level, it gets appealed to us. But we can also try cases originally. We have original jurisdiction over some cases like heinous crimes. Go directly to our courts. We are the trial courts in that case. We're not the appellate courts. All right. Now, as far as how rampant this problem is, or what's generally the status across the country, I still want to believe that there are more courts that are efficient in doing their jobs, but that doesn't get printed in the media. That doesn't get talked about. It doesn't get talked about in the media. What's highlighted are the individual cases where people are caught doing things which are illegal. Yes, exactly. But I will admit that there is really great inefficiency in our systems, and there are many factors that contribute to that. One of the factors is that the mindset of the people in the judiciary is already that this is endemic, and so you cannot blame us for it. It's the system, so we can't do anything about it. It's just the way things are. So they'll just go on day in and day out without attempting to do anything to correct it.
So today, your regional court, compared to, say, another one, how are they different from each other in terms of performance, in terms of ambience, in terms of results coming out of that court?
Well, actually, among all our courts in the Philippines, the most burdened are the first-level courts. Those are the first line, we call them, the very first courts that you will go to if you're filing a case that has to go to trial.
So that could be anything, civil, criminal, or graft?
Everything, yes. No, not graft.
Just civil and criminal.
Yes, civil and criminal. And then our courts, the regional trial courts, actually have bigger jurisdiction, but the number of cases filed are not as much as those filed in the first level. Okay. But in terms of volume of cases, I'm in Quezon City. Our station is in Quezon City. And Quezon City has the largest territory in the National Capital Region and also the largest population. So in terms of volume of cases being filed, Quezon City has the largest. And that is why I was quoting those figures earlier. It really needs to be addressed in terms of efficiency, because if you're just going to throw your hands up and say nothing can be done about it, then the cases will just keep on piling up. And the satisfaction of the public is way below expectations. In fact, even the public now is in that mindset that nothing can be done. The judiciary is always going to be like that. And that's exactly what challenged me. I thought that they cannot look at the judiciary in that way, because the judiciary is the third branch of government and it has an important role. Like, I'm so happy to hear about all the good news that
with the BPO
the IT BPO industry is going to do for the economy of the country. But what good are all these things, all these new developments, if there's no stable judicial system? People would want to ensure that their investments will be protected, and that they can go to a court that can be relied on, that will issue a decision on time, and not, lag, and not have their case lag for years and years.
Fair decision.
Fair
not just
decision.
on time, but sometimes fair
yes,
decision.
fair. And that their case will be tried efficiently. They would not have to wait for years for it to be finished. I personally will not want to invest my money in a place where there is no security.
In a country.
Yes, in a country where there is no such security. So I believe, I'm of the firm belief that if the country is going to move forward finally, we need a stable judicial system.
Judge, one more. Penny, if you don't mind. compare this to countries in Asia. The West, US is of course, there's fairness, there's timeliness on that. No? How about Thailand? How about Malaysia? How about India? Compare and contrast the Philippine judiciary system to these countries. Where do we stand in terms of ranking, in terms of quality performance?
I'm so glad that you asked that, Raju.
I need to understand, because we don't need to go and beat ourselves up saying that we are the terrible animals in this side of the world.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked that, because in October of 2009, I delivered a paper specifically on this, on the court problem of delay and congestion globally. So I compared everything as against the U.S., which is our benchmark. And you might be surprised to hear that even in the U.S., they experience delay.
Yeah,
and they have cases that lag in their dockets for like 3 years, no? But it's not as bad as it is in other countries. And one of the cellar dwellers actually is India. As of 2000, cellar dwellers in terms of efficiency, court efficiency. I mean,
cellar dwellers,
yes.
Like living in the basement, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's like you're at the bottom, no?
It's very scary from where I come from. I've never been to court, and touch wood that I shall never go into one. But it's very scary, just the appearance of a court, the fact that somebody has to go and bring a case. It's scary in India too.
Of course.
So,
well, people are always scared in court. You know, you have big, gruff policemen.
Once they get
to the witness stand, you hardly hear their
choke.
voices. Yes. Yeah. So it's really a scary atmosphere anywhere it is. But what I'm saying, for example, in India, one of the bottom dwellers in terms of court efficiency.
Right.
You have millions of cases pending in the dockets, like 27 million, I think, as of end of 2009. Wow. 27 million cases, okay, in India. And just the other day...
vis-a-vis compared to Philippines.
To the Philippines.
2.7 million, at least one-tenth of Philippines.
No, but your population is really much bigger. No, but my point in that paper, and the point that I'll relate to you now, is this. The problem exists globally. It's not just in Asia. It's not just in the Philippines or in India. But the question is, are we doing something about it? Okay. So
now that you've done something in that little neighborhood of yours in Quezon City, how would you recommend? You, of course, Penny, can come in here. How do you spread the good?
Okay.
What measures can you employ and benchmark and cascade it all across the judiciary system? What can you do?
Okay.
What can be done?
Actually, I've been very fortunate because the things that I've done have not gone unnoticed. So this has been brought to other courts and other judges largely through our Judicial Academy. They recruited me to join their corps of professors, and I've actually prepared a toolkit for Philippine trial judges. Yeah. And on the basis of that, I go around the country and I talk to our other judges and I share my best practices. We call it best practices. And so we help them, especially the new judges. We help them to start out with good practices instead of starting out and continuing old traditional practices which have not worked for decades.
So one step at a time.
That's, of course, one step at a time. But we are not limited to that because we're working through the Judicial Academy. Just the other day, members of the Supreme Court of Bangladesh were here, as well of the appellate courts, and they did a study tour with us in our training facility in Tagaytay.
Right.
And we showcased to them our court management practices.
They loved it.
I did that. Oh yes, because they felt that they could relate to me and my experiences in my court. They are saying to me, I have exactly the same problems you're facing. Now what can I do? And so every time I hear somebody ask me that, what can I do? You can do many things. You know, those opportunities are very rare. That's what I look for, where I can share what I've done and what has proven to be effective.
Let's take a break. Let's take a break and come back and see, look at ourselves as individuals, and how do we create this and what about us makes us do that. Yeah. So let's take that break. Let's take that break and come back and talk to Judge Singh and Ms.Bongato of BPAP. Stay with us. Welcome back to ExPat InSights. We're still with Judge Singh and Ms.Bongato of the BPAP. And we'll also take a little story from Penny. Penny had a personal experience in the court. So Penny, do you want to share your experience, not in the Quezon City?
No, it was in Makati.
Makati Trial Court?
Makati Trial Court. I was at the witness stand. It was a non-competition clause violation of a former employee. So I was the witness for our company, and I was being interrogated, grilled by another lawyer who is very well known. I wasn't sure whether I was saying the right thing. I was saying, Lord, please help me say the right thing.
Well, how did it feel being in court? Did you feel safe? Did you feel that you get a fair trial? Did you think that there was nothing going on behind the benches or under the table? Did you sense that? I mean, it's something people sense, like this place gives me the creeps. Did it give you the creeps?
Not in that court. What I saw in that court was first case, then finished, then moved to the next case. There were people really coming and going.
So it was efficient.
It was efficient. It was efficient. It's just a scary feeling of being there and not knowing whether, I would have to say this, whether the judge will be paid or not. Because I was telling my nephew who's taking up law, why are you going to take up law when judges could be paid, the judicial system could be paid? But if we always think about that, we'll never change.
Let me ask you this, Judge Singh, maybe you can start is that, did you have to go through a lot of emotional battles personally when you brought about this change outside of you in your environment? No? How much battle did you have to suffer inside, or at least tackle, not just suffer? And you too, Penny, you too have created so many changes in the BPO industry, still creating. What kind of process do you go on inside and come out a winner? What do you do?
It's always difficult to be like up against the world, right? If everybody doesn't like you, they think of you as a threat. Okay, that's always a difficult environment to work in. Exactly. So, but you just have to have this determination to go ahead despite any odds thrown in your way. Because if you do not have that determination, then every possible thing thrown at you will make you want to go back and not come back ever. Retreat and never return. Okay, so you just have to be really determined. If your eyes are set on something, you have to go through. Even if you have to go through hell, literally, you just have your eyes set on that goal, and until you reach it, you won't stop.
You have your eyes set on heaven.
Eyes set on heaven, and I'm not selfish. I'm willing to share that heaven with everybody, and all my staff members in that first court were with me when we were awarded the most outstanding. I was awarded the most outstanding judge for 2007 because we turned around that court from being the problem court to being the #1 court in that station. And that docket of 4,500 was reduced to 892 in a span of 3.5 years. So I won that award, but I said, this is not mine alone. This is an award for all the members of the court, because I could not have done that work alone.
Today, your team in the court, your staff, your clerks, etc., are they part and parcel of your belief system now, or are they still?
Oh yes, because I have my belief system. It works, but it will not work if I'm the only one who believes in it.
It's become a culture.
Yes, you have to convince everybody else to share your belief system.
Penny, in your industry, in the profession of teaching, in the profession of human talent management,
it's very challenging, similar to what Judge Mandhyan was saying, also in our industry, because it's never ending. You have to educate them about what the industry is. They always think of it as night shift and all this. So there's a lot of education, a lot of awareness. And like you, I can't give up, because if you give up, this industry will go nowhere.
What has been your biggest challenge in terms of innovating and improving the industry?
One is the perception about the industry.
From the community, from the country, that it's bad.
It's bad, it's call center work, it's night shift, you get this, you get that, you get
I want to ask you a thing. Number one, are we underpaid as a country?
No.
We're not being underpaid. We're not being outsourced because we are cheap.
The cost component is there, but so is quality. So there are 3 components that they are looking at: cost, talent scalability, and risk.
Well, this is probably the perception of the country that says that this is a bad industry. It's cheap. No, so it's not cheap.
It's not cheap.
Okay.
It's cheaper compared to the U.S.
Yeah.
It's
much cheaper?
Much cheaper. But we do have the
Are we legally cheap, in terms of global perspectives, in terms of minimum wages globally? Because we are doing work outside of our borders. That means we are working for America, we are working for Germany. So are we being paid by American standards or by Filipino standards? From that perspective, is it an exploitation or is it an opportunity?
It's an opportunity.
Okay.
Very, very much an opportunity. Of course, we cannot get paid the American wages. That doesn't make sense. So it's a Filipino wages, but we're even paid more than, much more than minimum wage.
So it's a path that we can follow down the decades, no?
Yes.
How is the educational system supporting this, and how is the government, how is the public sector backing up this opportunity, as we call it? What are the steps being taken both?
In fact, I'm glad that Judge Monette is here. The education system, I've been working with CHED, DepEd, DOLE, and the other, and TESDA, and the other, the other segments of the government. And I see the government really as trying to make a change. The K-12, I think, will make a difference.
What is that? I'm sorry?
K-12, this is the basic education.
Oh, moving from 11 to 12 years.
10 to 12 years. That will take time. We've seen that there are certain competencies that graduates don't have. Communication is one. Communication, English proficiency is one. And no matter what we do in college or in the work environment, it starts with basic. It starts with foundation. As having talked to DepEd, I know that they have quite a number of challenges.
The article that mentioned $55 billion by the year 2020 also mentioned this, that out of every 10 graduates that apply for a call center or an IT or a BPO job, 9 of them get turned down. Is this a fact? And if that's a fact, isn't that something that is that something that we're working upon, and how? But is this true first? I don't know.
3 to 8%, that's what they're saying at the moment. Yes, so you mentioned 10%. It's true for the moment on the voice side, but we're working on that. And that's why we work with the government. We want to make sure that we have the education system in place with CHED and DepEd and TESDA with their scholarship program. Also working with the government on the bills that are being passed to make sure that it's safe for the employees, that they're taken care of. But we're also doing quite a number of things in the BPAP, in the association, to make sure that we partner with the government in lifting the standards, because that's the only way to go. We need to make sure that we uplift the standards of quality of education of our people to make us more globally competitive.
Penny, the entrance and the growth of the IT BPO industry happened quite suddenly 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago. Maybe it creeped in and then suddenly bang, it blew, no? What are the chances of technology and innovation suddenly wiping out the opportunity? What if, say, Steve Jobs comes up with a certain software and that takes away all the voice services? Is there a possibility that, hey, 20 years down the line, we build the infrastructure, we've created the graduates, and hey, no more jobs? Is that a possibility? I'm not being negative.
Yeah, I know.
Taking
a look at technology and forecasting it, there's so many changes that could happen. However, I think the human touch is still there. It's still wanting to talk to somebody that's human. For voice, for non-voice, it may not be human, but the speed of where things get done and the decisions that you have to make and the analysis that you have to make, there has to be some human intervention to that. So the offshoring and outsourcing industry will continue to be here. We have so many competition, other countries. So we cannot stop doing what we're doing. In fact, we have to do different things. I have a favorite saying, and I'll say this: if we continue to do
I love your favorite saying. Go ahead.
If we continue to do the things that we're doing, we will continue to get the things that we're getting.
Is that Drucker or Einstein?
I don't know. I heard that. So we have to change our mindset, change the way we're doing things to get a different result.
Judge Singh, we're going to come to the end of this show. We've got a few minutes left now. So your personal plans for yourself. Where do you want to go as a human being, as a power Filipina? And where do you want to take the judiciary system? Will you stay with it, or will you come back to the private sector? What's your plan?
Well, I'm in the judiciary for as long as I'm needed. And well, as to my personal plans, I want to see my children all grown and also, well, probably members of the legal system, but a different and a much better legal system. I want to continue what I'm doing, sharing my experiences, because I've seen how it has changed other courts and other judges as well. And I'm always heartened when we have orientation of new judges. The younger judges, they are changing their mindset. They're bringing a different you know, they're bringing a different air and feel to the judiciary, and that's what I want to see. I used to say that, you know, I'm doing this, maybe I won't even see the results within my lifetime, but I'm doing this for my children. But now I see that it can happen within my lifetime, and I'm going to wait for that. Yes, it's a possibility. I really see the change, and we are very lucky. I feel very privileged to live in this time when this change is happening, and to be some kind of an instrument, maybe just a small one, but to be of help.
That horizon's not very far away.
Oh, thank you. I hope so. We'll pray for that.
What do you see for the private sector, especially from the perspective of the IT/BPO industry? What are your dreams for yourself? What are your dreams for the industry?
My dream for myself is continue this passion.
Yeah.
And then people have seen that, have told me that they've seen the passion.
Yeah.
And this is my calling. This is my purpose. Headhunters still call me. They want to join, go back to the industry, to the private sector, to the corporation. I said, no, I don't think so. Because my calling now is really to do this advocacy of teaching and growing, helping grow this industry. There is so much that we can do. So little that I can do myself, but with teams around me, around us, we can do a lot of things. One more saying.
One more quote, okay.
One more quote.
Yeah.
And I just wrote this quote 2 days ago. And I was telling my talent development power team in BPAP, vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision is just passing time. Vision with action can change the world. And that's what we want to do. We have the vision. Now it's time to make the action and execute it in our lifetimes.
Well, I'd like to thank you for being on this show.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for sharing your insights and your successes in the past. Is there anything you want to say to your community of judges and the judiciary system, or to Filipinas? Judge Singh.
I want to say to the Filipinas that we are a great force, and that our country needs us, not tomorrow, not the day after tomorrow or a year after, but today, right here and now. And in whatever field we are important. We have important contributions to make. Nothing is too little if it's for the good of the country. And to my fellow judges, I know that you're out there. We're not in the minority anymore. We will be able to see this change, hopefully, together in our life.
The horizon.
In the horizon. It's in the horizon for us.
Judge Singh, I forgot to ask you about the strangeness of your last name.
Oh, it's not really strange to you.
Uniqueness as a Filipino. Can you just give us a background on that?
Because my paternal grandfather was a British Indian. So my father was had one-fourth Indian blood, but he carried the surname, so it's Singh.
Was that the mayor of Manila many years ago?
We're related to them, but they had the name Bhagat Singh instead of Singh.
Okay, Singh means lion, so it's no big deal.
Yes,
right?
I
That's
knew
where
that.
Singapore comes
yes,
from.
Yes,
Singapore is a place of lions.
Yes, that's exactly.
Penny, last famous words, any quotes?
No
I have a
quotes.
quote for you, something you might like, you know.
Okay.
Let me see if I can come up with this. From where you are to where you want to go. The path is not long, but the way is deep. You cannot walk there, you have to take a leap. That's what you do, Power.
Nice.
You like
That's
that?
nice.
Okay.
I like
So
that.
yours.
I like that.
Thank you very much.
And that is what I teach in college. It's called needs
You
analysis.
got to jump, yes.
Yes, from where you are and where your desired state is. How do you get there? It will not be easy.
You cannot slumber your way up there.
Cannot, but
you gotta
do
fight
the
your way.
analysis and make sure that you get to where you want to be. For Filipinas, we have
In the private sector.
in the private sector, we can make a difference. We can make a change. What I also want to say, and not just for Filipinas, we should not give up. Many of us listen to the radio every morning or at night, watch TV, and it's all bad news. And we all complain. But if all we do is complain, nothing will change. So we should stop complaining and do our part, even in those small ways.
Just like the things we were discussing, persistence and purpose. I think that's it. So salamat po. Thank you very much for being on this show, and thank you for your insights.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Power Filipinas.
Thank you.
So that, ladies and gentlemen, was Ms.Bongato of the BPAP and Judge Singh of the Quezon City Regional Trial Court. I'm your host, Raju Mandhyan. Thank you for watching ExPat InSights. Next week, we'll have the Ambassador of Chile on ExPat InSights. So catch you then. Good night and mabuhay.